up for like Armada and everything over the last year. Our competitive tournaments are over. We've talked about the GTs and everything and how the game, the kind of the state of the game. What I'm not seeing around is a lot of like actual breakdowns of the different ships and how they might be used.
And I honestly think that's also that's partly because uh, when you're learning to play, you learn the ships.
Yeah,
So a lot of people don't look into the ships before they buy the game.
well, and even if you have the ship, most people like this week we're going to be talking about. We're going to actually be doing our first ship breakdown. We want to go through the ships of Armada and kind of go, okay, this is the different ways that you can use them. This is how you should use them. This is what we think of them. So to start, we wanted to start with a ship that everybody has, the Victory, the Victory class Star Destroyer. Everybody has this ship because this is the ship that came in the core set.
Yeah, it was the ship that everybody started with.
Yeah, so everybody has a Victory laying around, and we've seen changes to it over the years and how it's shifted. But where it stands today, in the year of our Lord 2024, is vastly different than where it sat when it entered play.
Yeah.
As new ships have been integrated, as new strategies have come about, as it's been added to a different faction altogether and serves a different role in that. So we want to talk about the different roles that this ship can have, and kind of how it breaks down and how you can use it, honestly, because there's so many different ways you can use these ships. Honestly, the Victory unfortunately suffers from the a problem I call the long in the tooth problem. It's an old ship for Armada.
It's been replaced.
But before we get going, of course, this is a live show happening Saturday, 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time with MDT. Join us. We're always happy to have you. Of course, everything, follow, like, subscribe, get in chat, talk about the Victory. We want to talk with chat at the end of it and what you guys think of the Victory. So let us know, comments, chat, whatever. And let us know if you want more of these Armada breakdowns. So, the Victory. Well, there's two classes of Victory in the Empire. There's the Victory 1 and the Victory 2, and they're trying to serve different roles. And I understand that. They're trying to serve two different roles. And I can get behind yes, it's trying to do something. And that's why I'm okay with it. It was the original ship. You put it on, it's a medium-sized ship. The base costs, let's start with the Victory 1, because the Victory 1 it is probably the one you would most likely use in the Empire. Now, the Victory 1 is 8 hull, 1 blue for its anti-squadron armament, 3 command, 3 squadron, 4 engineering. 3 red, 3 black on the front, 2 red, 1 black on the side, 2 red in the rear. For mobility, it has 1 tick at 1, 1 tick at the speed 2, and it can only go speed 2. It has an officer, a offensive retrofit, I think they're called an ordnance team. Let me double check what they're called. A weapons team, sorry. An ordnance upgrade and a turbo laser upgrade. Now, as I said, this thing suffers from the long in the tooth problem. For 73 points, this thing can be pretty versatile, but it's lacking a core upgrade to make it super worth it.
It honestly needs better, more defensive. It should be a full support ship.
It is lacking either the support. Not. I don't think so. These ones are called officers, I believe. Let me double check what they're actually called. Yeah. So you've got officers, but you've also got I believe support teams. So this thing either needs a support team or needs a defensive retrofit. The issue is this thing has very poor defense tokens. It has 2 redirects and a brace. That is difficult to contend with when you have other ships that do better things with better defense tokens. Getting an evade on this thing, getting a salvo, getting anything like that can definitely improve what it's trying to do. The Victory 1 in the Imperial Arsenal, you can build it one of three ways. Unfortunately, all of them suffer from the same problem. And the Victory 2, which the only difference between the Victory 1 and the Victory 2 is that it replaces its ordnance upgrade and its ordnance upgrade and its black dice with an ion cannon upgrade and its blue dice. They're pretty much the same ship. If you notice Jake's not talking too much, it's because he's not an Empire player. No,
Yeah,
he is an Empire player.
but I'm not. I don't play Armada as much. I'm
Yeah, and he
between
does.
work and everything. I don't have the time to.
Plus, he doesn't.
unfortunately.
He never uses the Victory.
That's because the Victory sucks.
Way to, I buried the lead here, Jake. Way to just hit the graveyard hard with that shovel. Dig up that lead as quickly as we can.
Hey, I wanted to make sure I was digging in the right spot.
But they're trying to serve roles. They're trying to be your multifaceted ship that can do a lot of things. Unfortunately, yeah, they suffer from the problem either way. So if they want to be your close range brawler, well, you've got gladiators. They don't have the dice, but they have better upgrades. If you're looking for that, you're going to take a Kuwat. Versatility. The versatility of this ship is so mitigated by the fact that the Empire has so many different ships that can serve specific roles. Like I said, you want a close range ship, close range attack ship in the Empire, you are honestly better off using a Venator or a ISD.
Yeah.
You will be served better by either of them.
Yeah, they cost more in points, but you'll be able to do a whole lot more with them.
Yeah, because this ship, it can throw 3 dice at long range, 6 dice at close range. Cool. My Kuwat's throwing 3 red dice, 3 blue dice. I mean, 2 black. Is it? Let me check the Kuwat. I can't remember the Kuwat's dice full off the top of my head.
Before we even started this.
Yeah, I know. I was doing extra research before, but I didn't look at the Kuwat. Let me just.
You had the Kuwat up.
I know. It has 3 black dice, 2 blue dice, 3 red dice. It literally is just its front armament is literally just this ship plus 2 blue dice. And its armaments are the same way. It doesn't have the turbo laser slot, but it has an ion slot and an ordnance slot. But it also has a defensive retrofit, and it has 3 additional hull and extra. Like the points you use to get to a Kuwat from a Victory are well worth it for what the Kuwat does.
Like I said, the Victory, it's an obsolete ship at this point.
The other role that it's trying to play is that of the assault ship. Not assault ship. We were just talking about it as an assault ship and how you're better served with an ISD or a gladiator. Other things are better than this. It only does speed 2, which means it's super slow getting into the fight.
It's not even good as the jack of all trades ship.
Which is what it's trying to be. It's
not good at it.
That's the problem. It's not good at what it's trying to be. Being the jack of all trades, it's not effective. Now, the other role that it's trying to play is that of a carrier. Unfortunately, the Empire suffers from the same problem with the Victory, with the carrier, that it does with it's a worse problem than you would with the ISD problem with the Victory as a brawler. This thing, as a carrier, will never serve you as well as a Quasar.
Yeah, a Quasar can hold more ships. It has more squadron command tokens. It's just a lot better.
And it's cheaper. So, for instance, the 73 points you would use on a Victory, those 73 points, I'm not even talking any upgrades. Like, if you just ran this thing, no upgrades on it, as a Quasar carrier costs 74 points for the Quasar 2 plus an boosted comms and flight controllers. It's just a better ship. And if you need a carrier that can deal damage, well, guess what? You have an ISD-2, which is a fantastic carrier.
And it's said that the Victory has 2 different versions for the Empire. You have the Victory 1 and the Victory 2, and they're both... There's not much difference between them. They both cannot do very well.
Yeah, usually these ships have a significantly difference in upgrade slots that makes taking one versus the other an actual difference. And this one is like, do you want black dice or do you want blue dice?
I mean, if they really wanted to and made the ship a lot cheaper just to throw a ship in, okay, that would work. If it's just supposed to be to sit there and maybe be a little bit of a meat shield, okay, that could technically work.
But you don't want a quarter of your list being a meat shield.
But the only way for that to be viable is if they made this ship a lot cheaper.
And that's the thing. It is way overcosted for what it does in the Empire. Why is a Quasar 20 points cheaper than this thing?
Right.
Sorry, 10 points cheaper. I think 61.58. Yeah. Why is it like 10, 15 points cheaper than the Victory? The Quasar is significantly better in its role than the Victory is as a jack of all trades. Because the ISDs were trying to be a jack of all trades, but the ISDs have 4 different options, and their differences really matter.
And not only that, but then you look at like not acclimators, Venators. Those were considered a jack of all trades. You have so many attachments to put on a Venator.
Yeah, well, the ISDs, like you've got Kuat retrofit, you've got the Simoon retrofit, then the ISD-1, ISD-2. And it's like all of them serve a different role. All of them, the ISD-1 and ISD-2 can be your jack of all trades ships. ISD-2 can act as a carrier, it can act as a long, medium range brawler. ISD-1 is just a straight brawler. Kuat's your close range guy. Simoon is your long range guy.
Basically what we're saying, when it comes to the Empire, the Victory is obsolete.
Unfortunately, yes, the Victory has lost its position as a viable ship.
But that is in the Empire.
Yes, we still want to talk about how to build this thing, though.
But you look at it as in the Republic, it actually has a little bit more that it can do.
Yes, so in the Republic, it has a better role set out for it. And actually has multiple roles that it can run. And it runs them really well in the Republic because it has entirely different upgrades to it. Before we move to the Republic, though, I kind of want to talk about the different ways you would build this. So, of course, LTTs, it's got your turbo laser stuff. You're going to put LTTs on the thing. 3 red, of course, you want that free reroll. For the 2, you've got the ion cannon. Well, you're going to put leading shots or an NK ion cannon or some ion cannon to deal with blue crits and really cause problems. On the 1, you're going to throw external racks or assault proton torpedoes on the thing. The issue is, no matter how you build this as a brawler, I doubt that it will ever get in the fight. 3 shields on each side and only 1 in the rear, which means the rear is super vulnerable to fighter swarms. It only has 1 blue dice on the anti-squadron, which means you're going to have problems with bombers in this thing. The other issue you're going to run into is it's only got redirect and a brace, a single brace, and no retrofit, which means they just need 1 accuracy, and you're taking the brunt of every hit.
Like I said, you're better off building this in the Republic than the Empire.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm so disappointed in this ship. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. All this thing needs is a point decrease. If this thing was 60 points instead of 73, suddenly this ship is really good because it has a lot of hull. It can do very versatile, and it can be that ship that you need it to be for very cheap.
But it's a good thing with us starting, because we'll probably continue going through different ships as throughout the year. We'll choose different ships to talk about. But to start, why not start with the disappointment, right?
Start with the disappointment that everybody has taking up space on their shelf.
Hey, it's a good decoration for your shelf. At least that.
It is a good model. I like the Victory model. The Victory model looks good, at least. The good news is this ship does have a place. As of Rapid Reinforcements 1, this ship has a space in the Republic.
Because, yes, the Republic built a better ship than the Empire.
Somehow, the Empire had worse upgrades than the Republic did. So this thing has different defense tokens. So you remember how I talked about how there was a problem with having two redirects and only one brace, and it would be better served with an evade or a salvo? Well, the Republic has a salvo.
See? Better.
2 red dice salvo.
It's already better.
So it can counterattack if it's attacked. On top of that, remember how we talked about how it needed a support team upgrade or a defensive retrofit?
There it is.
No defensive retrofit. We got a support team upgrade, which means this one is trying to fall into the role of the support ship.
Which, I mean, we had this discussion earlier. For me, Armada is a really great game, but I do not think it's lore accurate. But that's also because these ships also had different roles in lore than they do in the game. But, I mean, I don't see why the Republic would ever use this as a support ship, because this was supposed to be a new ship to replace the Venators.
Yeah.
At least in lore.
I have to look into the lore. We definitely should do more lore and study the lore on it. The Victory 1 as a ship in the Republic has 2 ordnance upgrades, which means it's getting expanded launchers and external racks, or it's getting external racks and assault proton torpedoes, or external racks and assault concussion missiles, or external rack. You can see where I'm like, we want external racks on this thing.
It's better in the Republic.
It's way better in the Republic, because it's like, cool, it doesn't need the turbo laser stuff in the Republic. It needs as much ordnance as possible, but it also has a specific upgrade to it that the Empire doesn't have access to that makes it fit so well into the Republic, which is the SFAT cannon. I'm covering Jacob.
He's making me disappear.
Okay,
there we go. I'm back now.
The SFAT cannon. So the SFAT changes the game for the Victory because now it serves an entirely different role. It serves as a cheap SFAT platform. Because the Venator is 120 points or so in the Republic, and 100 and something points. I think it's 105, 110, 100 and 105. It looks like. No, 90 and 100. Sorry, 90 points and 100 points. And the SFAT is a 7-point upgrade, but it eats your offensive retrofit, which means you don't get anything else. You don't get boosted comms. You don't get anything like that. You don't get flat guns. Not that this thing needs flat guns. Do not put flat guns on this thing. If you put flat guns on this thing, I will be mad. If you're newer to Armada and haven't taken a look at flat guns, what flat cannons do is on your salvos, you increase the range by essentially 1 band. So your blue dice can attack at long range. Your black dice can attack at medium range. This thing has 2 red, so it's attacking at long range salvoing no matter what.
Why not?
Because it makes this thing objectively worse. Because it changes its blue anti-squadron to a black anti-squadron.
Okay.
Which, in theory, actually does serve a purpose. You know, it just doesn't have as much range. But the SFAT cannon, turning this thing into an ignition attacker, even if you can only place the ignition at close range. So it's not a lot. You move 2, you put the ignition token out there. It's out there. You have your little ignition token. And now you're like, oh, cool. So I can now fire essentially at long range with blue dice. That's where this thing gets its blue dice from. And so you're like, cool, I have these options now where this thing can pose as a longer range threat from the side because you can ignition out the side. So it turns your 3 dice side pool into a 6 dice side pool.
Yeah.
This thing suddenly becomes significantly metered when it's shooting out the side with a spat. Now, of course, this you could place it, but you need a Confire token to bring it up again and ready it at the end of the phase. That's an easy fix with clone navigation officers. You just stick clone navigation officers on this thing when you reveal another one, another dial. You put it on here as well.
Now here's the real question, because we've been wanting an expansion on Armada for a while. The whole community has for a long time, because for one, they're still producing ships, just not as much as they should. They are not keeping up production on these, as well as they're not planning on. As far as I know, they haven't announced whether or not they're going to be releasing any more ships.
No, we as far on that front. Normally we would have heard something at Adepticon, and we didn't hear anything at Adepticon. But there is another mini extravaganza in July, and at Adepticon, the creators of the game, not creators of the game, but the developers of the game, the current developers said, we recognize that the Clone Wars factions needs new ships.
So that's the question. When they go to release new ships for the Republic and the Separatists, will it make the Victory obsolete?
See, that's the issue, is I don't think they can make it obsolete because of what this is. Unless they make a SFAT platform that's cheaper than the Victory, this thing always has a place in a SFAT list.
And I'm just saying that because you look at it, they did it with the Empire. This was the original ship that came out in the Empire, and it's now obsolete.
Yeah, but that one was trying to do a jack of all trades. This one is trying to actually serve a specific role. This one's serving your short-range front brawler and your SFAT platform. It can be a carrier. It has that upgrade for the support, so no matter what, this thing can always take projection experts and be a support ship. Unlike the Empire, where it's gotten long in the tooth, even if they released additional ships for the Republic, this still has a role.
Yeah.
This has a role that it can fill. Even if they took away the carriers, because an acclimator does make a better carrier than a Victory. Because it's got the Navota B title upgrade and its similar upgrade structure for its fighters. So it may not serve as a carrier in the Republic after they get a better carrier, but it will still serve that close-range brawler playstyle.
We also look at it, a lot of the Republic ships are amazing carriers because that's what they do. Same with the Separatists. The Separatists use fighters.
Yes and no. Separatist fighters are very cheap.
That's because they're droids.
My fighter, the Separatists in fighters are belligerent and numerous.
But like I said, the Republic and the Separatists primarily use fighters.
Yeah.
So does
the Republic.
Rebellion too,
Okay.
But
In lore, yes, the fighters were a big part of the Clone Wars. In the actual game, most Republic lists do not build fighter swarms.
which is weird because how else are you going to deal with the fighters from the Separatists? Because the Separatist fighters are so cheap and you can throw a bunch of them in with no problem.
The benefit of the Republic and how their ships are built, most of their ships either have long-range flak or they have double flak. So the flak guns, the anti-squadron flak in the Republic is actually really good.
Yeah.
You don't have to completely worry about it because if you spend a round flacking out an enemy fighter screen, you're good. You spend a round or two just flacking out the enemy fighter screen. You get yours in the mix, tie them up so that they can't move and attack you, and you just flak out at them. With these, you can take ordnance pods to flak twice. On larger ships with the double flak, it's like, yeah, you could easily take out a fighter or two. LTTs let you deal... Link turbo laser towers on other ships let you take out the your what are they called? Aces, because they can when targeting aces, they can add. You can always add 2 additional dice. Not when you're targeting aces, but when you're targeting the first one. So instead of flacking out at everything, you can just be like, "I hate you" in particular.
The thing is, when you look at it as far as for the victory,
Oh, the victory never should fight on its own. A list that includes the victory is a support ship. It needs a flagship with it.
it has to sit with a Venator.
It sits with a Venator or a pair of acclimators.
And the thing is, you're better off doing as far as a flagship, the Venator.
The Venator is a inherently better flagship for the Republic, and so the victory is usually alongside. So the sample list that I have for the Republic is 2 victories with clone navigation officers, projection experts, so that they can throw the shields to the Venator. So these things are staying out of the fight. They're like, we want nothing to do with this.
We're gonna hide behind the Venator.
Yeah, we're gonna hide behind the Venator.
I'm gonna hide behind my big brother.
If the Venator gets destroyed, oh, I'm a brawler. I can start throwing punches, but I'm hiding behind the Venator. I'm throwing out my spat, and I'm shooting you with the spat. But projection experts to throw shields to the Venator, be like, oh, you need additional shields? Well, here's additional shields. So SFAT platform. So ordnance experts, projection experts. Ordnance experts to get those free rerolls on the black when you're at close range. Clone navigation officer, assault proton torpedoes for when you're at that close range and really want to make the enemy have a bad day. You throw assault proton torpedoes at them. And external racks for additional black dice. If you don't know what assault proton torpedoes do, black critical, deal a face-up damage to your opponent, to the opposing ship. Doesn't matter how many shields they have. Doesn't matter how many defenses they have, they get a face-up if you have a crit.
So as long as you can roll the dice, then you're good.
Yeah.
Not good for me then.
Well, you got 5 black dice. The odds of you critting with a black die is so much.
I've whiffed.
Yeah. The other option, instead of assault proton torpedoes in this list, you could start. Is a fatty, anyways. How it's going good, chat. The other option with these, instead of the assault proton torpedoes as your ordnance upgrade, could be the assault concussion missiles. But that's if you just really want to rip the shields off of another ship and open the way for your Venator. The entire purpose of this is either just to deal damage and support the Venator, or to rip the shields off of another ship so that your Venator can deal the damage. As far as Armada, yeah, like I said, this thing actually does not have a place in the Empire where it belongs. I wish it did. Overall, I don't like this ship. So the SFAT is a getting into chat because we're at the end here. We're going to talk with chat a little bit. The SFAT is not a actual ship. It's a weapon on a ship. So, in fact, I don't remember what SFAT stands for. I need to take a look. But essentially, it's an artillery gun that they mounted to the hangar of a Star Destroyer.
Basically, it's when it's similar to, we have too many guns that we have to use a cargo plane.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about this fight. It's like, it's too big. We can't just put it on there. We literally have to take out the hangar, put the SFAT in, and this thing can annihilate anything that's in front of it. Triple SFAT lists are brutal in this game.
I'm wrong. I would be the SFAT would be more equivalent to the gun on the A-10 Warthog.
This SFAT is so nasty. Because a triple SFAT list, you're like, oh man, they are throwing so many dice at long range. It's almost as bad as a recusant sucker punch. The only worst thing is a recusant sucker punch, because if you know anything about a recusant sucker punch, at long range, it is throwing 5 red dice, 2 blue dice, 2 black dice. At long range.
Yeah.
So, and it's moving at speed 3, so it's getting in there so fast. when we talk about the Recusant, I'm going to talk about the Sucker
on
Punch
the
list,
on the Recusant, not on the
not on the Victory.
the Victory can only move speed 2. It's still slow.
Yeah, this ship does not play the role in the game that it's trying to play. It's trying in the Empire. It's trying to be a jack of all trades. Oh, yeah, no, we're talking about Armada today on our podcast, so we're very much getting into the different ships, and we're starting with the Victory because if you ever look into Armada as a game, the starter pack, the starter kit comes with a Victory, some TIE fighters, a Nebulon B, and a
Doesn't it come
medical frigate. What's the medical frigate?
with flotillas?
No. The Nebulon B is the Corellian cruiser. That's what I was thinking of.
I thought the starter kit also came with a single SSD.
An SSD?
No, ISD. Sorry.
No. The ISD is its own thing.
So is the SSD, but
Yeah, we'll talk about those later. Well, the ISD is going to be a nasty discussion to have about it because the ISD has too many roles. Because everybody who plays Armada has a Victory laying around, understanding how to use it, and sadly, the fact that it's I'm just going to throw up the stuff on the Imperial Victory real quick. The Imperial Victory does not have a role, unlike the Republic Victory, which serves a valid purpose in the game. The Victory for the Empire just has been replaced.
it's obsolete.
You
It's
need a
an old
carrier, you're running a
technology
Quasar. You need an assault ship, you're running an ISD.
Yeah.
If this was 10, 20 points cheaper for your lists, maybe.
It'd be a good meat shield if it was cheaper.
Yeah. Or, be very nice.
You're cutting the top of your head off there.
I am with the with this. Let the Imperial Victory take a spat. And maybe this thing has a role.
Does the Imperial... Isn't the Imperial allowed to take ion cannons?
The Victory 2 has an ion cannon upgrade.
So the Victory 2, as far as the Empire... Because doesn't the ion cannon specifically target their shields?
Yeah.
So that could be what they can be... The Victory 2s can be used for in the Empire, is just to target the shields.
Yeah, you rip the shields off of them.
But other than that, I don't think they can do much else.
No.
Not in the Empire.
In the Empire.
And there's other ships that can use ion cannons.
Yeah, well, and if you're looking for an ion cannon ship, again, you're better served with an ISD too. Because it has more ion cannons than this thing.
If they made this ship a lot cheaper, it would be viable.
It would serve a very specific jack-of-all-trades role.
But it's not very good as a jack-of-all-trades.
Well, as a jack-of-all-trades, being cheap means that it can be disposable.
Yeah.
Being disposable, this ship either needs to serve a role, in which case it can really take the brunt of damage and be your frontline brawler, or it needs to be a support ship at its current points, and it can't do either effectively in the Empire. In the Republic, yeah, it does it very well. The Empire it does not. So the trick is to run this thing as a in the Empire, drop it by, even if this thing, honestly, I do not want this thing dropping into the 50-point range. That there's an entirely other ship for that role, and this thing is too tanky to be that low. I would say this thing probably maxes out at 60 points.
But you
Mins
also
out at 60 points.
But you also got to realize, like you said, everything's disposable to the Empire.
Yes, as chat says, everything is disposable to the Empire. Turning this thing into a purely disposable assault ship, the issue is in a standard game of Armada, this thing takes about a quarter of your list. And if you want something eating a quarter of your list, you want it to do more than this thing does, because it needs to be able to take a punch, which this thing can sort of take a punch. The issue, it's taking a brunt of every attack. It does not have a defensive retrofit, so it's not getting extra shields. It's not getting...
It has to have something in front of it.
Yes, this is a ship that needs something in front of it. If it doesn't have something in front of it, this thing dies just immediately. This is one of those ships that, as a separatist player, when I see one of these hit the table with my recce, I go, ooh, juicy target.
I mean,
free points.
The thing is it's a glass cannon without the cannon.
Yeah, this thing doesn't have the guns to be a glass cannon. If it had more dice, I would respect that. But honestly, dropping its point down so that you can run more than one of them, turn them into your disposable attack craft. And honestly, what I'd love is this thing drop down to 60 points, 60 and 65 points, so that you can have these at 70 points. Run these as your close range brawlers with onagers as your long range assault ships.
But the real question is, do you think that will actually happen?
The good news is Atomic Mass Games is actually paying very close attention to the balance of the game.
Because
unlike other war games, this game is super balanced.
Well, that's just it. Both Legion and Armada got moved over
to Atomic Mass Games.
Atomic Mass Games, and they have been wanting to focus more on the games that they created.
Yeah. So the issue, what they're running into though with Armada and Legion is they keep growing. Armada and Legion keep growing as games.
Legion, not so much, but Armada definitely is.
Legion produces more money than Armada, but Armada is the better game. Armada is so much fun to play. It's less stressful, less things to keep track of. You build your list, you go into the fight. Every ship, when a ship goes on the table, you're not questioning what the ship can do. You're questioning what role they're going to use it in. So when a victory hits the table, are you going, is it a brawler or is it a carrier? When an ISD hits the table, it's, are you going to keep your distance or are you going to get close to me? When a quasar hits the table, you're going, oh, that's a carrier. It's going to serve as a carrier. Let me guess, you're playing Sloan?
And not only that, but I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. The gladiators, it's a close...
as soon as the gladiator hits the table, you know exactly what it is, exactly how it's playing, and exactly how it's built. As soon as the gladiator hits the table in an actual game of Armada, you're going, let me guess, you're running external racks or assault proton torpedoes and the Demolisher title upgrade with ordnance experts.
And the entire goal of the gladiator is to get around back and just unload.
Oh, yeah. What is it? One of the upgrades on the gladiator is literally you get extra black dice if you're No, the black dice can attack at medium range if you're attacking the rear of the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading your chat right now. Go. If it has a point, yeah, it's designed to ram. This thing can ram. In Armada, I do a lot of ramming because that's how you lock down enemy ships. Is you ram them, and so nobody can move until one of you destroys the other.
And it's actually a viable tactic that's used against the SSDs. You park something in front of it.
It's hilarious. SSDs, you park something in front of it and unload into the front. You park the strategy. If you've chat's never played the game, an SSD Super Star Destroyer is super big, not very maneuverable, has a lot of guns. Now you can completely nullify its guns if you don't get on its side and you stay right in front of it.
Either right in front of it or right behind it.
And so what you do is you park something with thermal shields in front of it to nullify half of its attack, and that ship just takes the brunt of the damage for like 5 rounds.
Legitimately, you take your biggest and most armored and healthy ship, park it in front of it, and everybody else goes to the back.
Or in my case, if you're running a bunch of big ships, you park them all in front of it, let them unload into it until you overheat its defenses. Because part of Armada, the way you defeat an SSD is you make them burn their defense tokens very quickly so that you can just annihilate the thing. But as far as the game goes, the victory serves a place in conclusion, essentially.
With the Republic, it serves a place. With the Empire, it's obsolete.
The only place it serves is if you're running a starter game.
Yeah.
If you're teaching somebody new to play the game,
and you're just running 2 starter sets,
the victory.
The
Because you're
Victory-
running the victory is a fair ship to play against the Nebulon B and Corellian cruiser.
and it's a good way to learn how the tokens work.
Is
how
it the Nebulon B, or am I getting something wrong? Corellian Corvette? I'm trying to think. I think I'm getting that wrong. So it has the CR90. Sorry, not Corellian. CR90 Corvette and the Nebulon B.
And so basically, if you're gonna get into the game and you buy the starter sets, it's good to learn the tokens and how to build a ship and what you can put on the ships, what the different symbols mean is what you can learn with it. But as far as actual competitive play, there's no viability for it. Not in the Empire.
In the Republic Sector Fleet, you just run like Sector Fleet at Adepticon. We played 800-point double size fleets, Sector Fleet. Somebody ran 10 victories with Sfats.
That hurt.
That was a brutal list. I unfortunately didn't get to play against it. The guy I played against dropped 14 proximity mines into play.
And let me guess, you ran them over.
I ran right through the minefield. I ran that recusant through the minefield right up to him. Patriot's fist all the way. Now, that's everything that we have to talk about here on Locked Loot. Of course, like, since we're wrapping up here, we are going to get ready and get switched over because we got to play some Zelda.
Yep. Join us on Zelda after this.
It'll be like 10 minutes or so. Go get a drink. Go do something. We'll be right back. We just need to get our Zelda together, get our stream set up for Zelda, get logged in, get the cameras all fixed up, and get ready. Of course, like Saturday, we're moving on to Zelda. Podcast has ended here. I got to do I have to do the usual things that you say at the end. We're 40 minutes into this episode. If you're watching the archive on YouTube, just check us out on Twitch. Check us out live. I don't beg for subscriptions or followers. I refuse to beg. So I'll be we'll be right back.